Welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. There is so much noise on the interweb these days about what women should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to their fitness and health. Not only is it all too often tied to shame and fixing our bodies, it can also be incredibly detrimental to our health and wellness overall. The Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast sorts through the BS and offers advice and actionable, tactile steps to support and build a better relationship to your amazing body through every stage of womanhood. It aims to break the cycle of keeping women in the dark about their extraordinary machines and revolutionize the way we move, eat, and live so that our daughters and our daughters' daughters look in the mirror and feel exactly what they are: fierce, beautiful, and capable of everything. The revolution starts here. Hello, and welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, and you know what? I've missed y'all. I am sorry. I've been a bit of a delinquent this February, but I'll tell you what, we've had a lot going on in life this month. And as I said at the beginning of the year, when we were talking about goal setting, I am really aiming more for consistency than perfection. So progress, not perfection. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. All those things are just coming into play this month, surprisingly, considering January is usually the busier month for gyms. But you know what? Life got lifey. Didn't really have anything to do with work. We got a new dog. We rescued this sweet little Borodor. That's a border collie, a Labrador mix, in case you didn't know, because I didn't. His name's Argo. He's a delight. We got him like 9 days ago. He's finally decided he likes us, so our self-esteem is on the uptick. He and Chip ignore each other, and you know what? As far as siblings go, that's pretty darn good. I've also been dealing with, I don't remember if I mentioned this last podcast, a surprise health thing. Nothing major, just something that has sort of taken me off my game. Marcus and I have started making more music together with my sister. It's called Toward Eternity. It is awesome. Stay tuned. Check us out on Instagram, Toward Eternity Band. Anywho, just lots of stuff, right? A lot of fun stuff. And then, maybe not all so fun, but a lot of fun stuff. Lots of good stuff. Lots of stuff to be grateful for. But point is, life got lifey. So here we are. And honestly, I had a really, really awesome listener review a couple of weeks ago, and I hope she doesn't think I've forgotten about her, because the truth is that she requested a podcast on menopause fatigue, and I have been I wrote an entire first draft. I did a bunch of research. It took me about 4 or 5 hours for the first draft, and as I started going back to edit it, I was like, man, I want to add a little bit to this. So I really want to put some thought into it, because you took the time to leave a review and ask for something that was important to you, and that is so cool. So I want to do my due diligence. So that one is coming down the pipeline. And if you're listening and you have questions or things that you would be interested in me addressing on the podcast, please, 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 I adore answering questions. If you know me, which you probably do through this, you know I love to talk, so just give me a reason. You can either email me at kinsey.diamond@gmail.com or hit me up in my DMs at kinsey.does.the.fitness. Clever, I know. But in the meantime, I figured, let's just drop on the horn. I actually didn't write this one, so it's going to be a little bit more stream of consciousness, which can be dangerous. So I'm going to try my best to stay on track. There's a 37.5% chance you will hear a dog bark and me say, quiet down, but we'll see how it goes. Basically, today I figured we just do a little stopgap episode because I've been thinking a lot about nutrition. And when I was in Los Angeles, you kind of take a lot of stuff for granted. And this is like no shade. This is just, I'm in a very different environment. Everybody teases about Los Angeles being like, every restaurant is vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, food-free. You just eat smells and it's awesome. Smells and cigarettes. Everyone's thin. No, not really. That's crazy. But point is that it's, the coasts, LA and New York, are ahead of the curve with health. So lots of protein forward restaurants, lots of really clean farm to table, a lot of not that stuff too. But especially in the fitness world, not everyone, a lot of people who are in fitness are also, learning about nutrition alongside of that, versus moving in towards the Midwest, which I will say the Twin Cities are dope, my friends. Not only are they eco-friendly and just like some of the coolest people, but they have some of the best food that I have ever had. For a second, we were going to move to Denver because the food scene was off the charts and, like nature and stuff. And then we came to Minnesota and we were like, wait a minute. This place slaps. And there is a lot of really good nutrition here. Lots of farm to table, lots of protein forward restaurants, and lots of fun restaurants. I am a firm believer in balance, right? So Marcus and I definitely do our share of eating out at places that are just fun, along with eating at places that are really nutritionally dense and high nutrition. So I'm really grateful because Twin Cities is just, it actually feels in a lot of ways like pound for pound, the food scene is better. So come at me, LA. But anyway, point is, there's also, not necessarily as much access to information or emphasis on nutrition as there was when I was living in LA. It seems there's a bit, obviously I'm in the fitness world, so I skew a little heavier into people asking those sorts of questions, and it's really cool. But it also still is a little bit more balanced in terms of people who I think could stand to benefit from having access to really solid information on nutrition that would support them and their life, their bodies as they age, their health. And it's been really cool because I'm really grateful to be in what I consider one of the coolest places that we've ever lived, and also a place that is before our eyes transforming into a more and more health conscious place. So that is just my little love letter. But I was at Chipotle the other day because let's be real. Sometimes you got to go fast and dirty, and Chipotle, as far as it goes, is not, in my book, like, it's a pretty decent fast food option when I got to get food fast, right? I used to do double protein, but now I think that's a scam. But you can get your protein, you can get your beans and rice, you can get your meat, you can get your sofritos veggies, you can load up pico, you can load up verde. All salsa is vegetables chopped up, right? So there's lots of ways to get a decently balanced meal there. You have your protein, you have your fiber. Sure, the oils are not ideal, but you know what? If I'm not doing it every day. So when it comes to a fast meal where I'm just like, man, I've worked 12 hours and I just need to pick up dinner and that's it, I'm a really big fan of Chipotle. And I was ordering it and just watching the people around me order. And I was like, it's interesting because I used to order very similar to how the majority of people in the restaurant were ordering, which was rice, bean, protein, sour cream, cheese, lettuce, done. And there's no shade in that, but there is room for if they just threw on a salsa, if we just decided in that moment to throw a salsa on, there's some lettuce on, even guacamole, avocados are great in fiber. It doesn't make it taste worse. I think it makes it taste better. There's just these little tricks that level up our meals and make them that much healthier. And I just want to be like, hey, just throw some pico on it and then you're getting some veggies. But that'd be rude. It's just I don't correct format gyms. I'm not about to go micromanage your life, your body, your rules, and who knows, maybe outside they're doing the most. So point is, it was just something that I was observing. And I started to think of how I really like the hack of salsa as getting my vegetables in, because especially in the winter, the last thing I want to do is sit down with a giant bowl of salad and just go to town. It just doesn't sound like fun to me. Sometimes I'm really into salads. If I'm getting a salad along with something else, restaurant salads are fun, right? But salads I make at home are not usually fun. So I have had to figure out how to get those veggies in. Veggies are incredibly important. I think we can all agree. It's one of those things when people ask me advice on nutrition, it seems to be more often than not, they know the answer. right? They knew if they were to look at two separate meals, one was loaded up with high quality protein and vegetables and healthy fats and like high quality carb, like a sweet potato, versus like mac and cheese and Chick-fil-A. You know, they know what the healthy food is. It just is sort of like we need reassurance. But I also think we don't talk enough about why we need vegetables in our life. There are so many reasons. For one, micronutrients and vitamins are a huge part of our overall health and wellness, especially this time of year when immunity is just getting like pounded, right? The more that we can load up on the micronutrients, the vitamins, the antioxidants, the things that keep our body, what's the word I'm looking for? Keep them from getting inflamed, so fighting inflammation, and B, just supported in all of the other processes, the better off we are, right? It just makes sense. If we're eating foods that cause a bunch of inflammation, it's going to be much harder for our body to combat sickness versus if we're loading up on foods that are nutrient dense. When sickness comes about, we have these nutrients in our system that are supporting us versus causing excess inflammation. Wow, sciencey. Point is, this is going to be pretty layman's, right? Because again, a lot of this I think we know, but we don't really stop to go, oh yeah, it is important. Also, fiber is incredibly important. There's a couple different types of fiber and they're all super duper important, but it is a non-negotiable when it comes to stabilizing our blood sugar. And when we are overweight, when we are going through perimenopause, when we are stressed, when we are underslept, there are so many things that can dysregulate our blood sugar. Leaning into fiber and high protein is going to be a big key in helping just to keep our body healthy, operating at baseline, right? Especially if we experience crashes throughout the day, probably that means that the carbohydrate sources that we are enjoying are not super high in fiber. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but generally a pretty good number, if you just want like a number to start with, is when you're looking at carbohydrates to fiber, or I should say fiber to carbohydrates, you want at most a 1-to-5 ratio of fiber to carbs. If it's lower, c'est la vie. If it's higher, you're probably getting into the crash territory. So again, I don't want you to put food rules on yourself, but it is important to make sure that we're looking for those foods that are higher fiber in our diet. Also, a lot of the times, I know for a long time, I relied on getting fiber from just pre-made foods. So things like, oh God, I forget what it was, but there was literally Fiber One. Do you guys remember Fiber One? Is that still a bar? I would rely on getting fiber from processed protein bars, which why not? It said it was high in fiber. But then looking back at it, when you look at all the added things, when you look at really the ratio, it ends up the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Not to mention when we're getting fiber from something like that Fiber One bar versus broccoli. I know I picked like the worst vegetable. I like broccoli, but howdy, I get it. The food matrix of what comes with broccoli, all the different things that make broccoli a healthy food, we miss when it comes to that Fiber One bar. So fiber, super important. Quality of fiber, super important. Fun fact that I learned recently, the most consumed veggie in America is potato in the form of French fries, to which I say, well done, because I freaking love French fries. But also, I think it is important to acknowledge where we can improve our health. And just taking an audit each day of being like, great, did I have a vegetable today, is a great way to start. A vegetable that wasn't a French fry, right? And again, no shade. I love French fries. I love them. I love them. I would marry them if I wasn't so in love with margarita definition, make the boys go loco. Point is, balance. Always, always balance. So a couple of ways that, just like that salsa on my Chipotle hack, that you can start, we all can start, I've started implementing to get more veggies in my day without making myself feel like I'm torturing myself, is what I'm going to talk about. And that was a long lead up. Also, a really cool resource to check out is Dr. Terry Walls. She created the Walls Protocol. I was really into Dr. Terry Walls a while ago, but she's brilliant. She cured her MS through her multiple sclerosis through nutrition. And one of the big components of the Walls protocol is the emphasis on leafy greens and vegetables, also protein and other things. But they played a huge role. That requires a lot of servings. I forget, but it's something like 6 to 8 cups of leafy greens and like the same of vegetables. I honestly haven't looked at the protocol for a while, so if I'm butchering it, I'm sorry. It's worth checking out because it is a great thing to aim for, but I'm not out here getting that, right? My goal is like veggies at every meal, and that is a pretty good place for me to spend most of my days. Sometimes I get lots of veggies, and sometimes I get French fries, and that's great. So how do we make life a little bit easier? My first one, and I do this almost every day, and I've probably talked about it 8,248 times, and I'm going to talk about it another 8,428 or whatever times I said, is smoothies. Blend it up. Shoot it back. But here's the deal. It doesn't have to be a shot, right? Smoothies can taste delicious. I get teased all the time at work because I bring my smoothies, and today one of my clients said it looked like concrete. I often get called sludge or slime. And to be fair, it does look weird. And I think that is sort of, well, my hot take is we like shiny things, right? So we go on the Instagram and we see all these beautiful photos of food. And a lot of times when we get sweets and desserts, they're these like beautiful little treats. Like sometimes they're so pretty. You're like, do I even want to eat it? Yes, I want to eat it, but I feel bad. I got to take like 85 pictures. Sometimes my healthy foods do not look delicious, but that does not mean they aren't delicious. So one of the first things we can get rid of bias-wise is just because it ain't pretty doesn't mean it doesn't taste good and isn't great for you. So yeah, I drink a lot of pond scum. I do like 2, sometimes 4 big handfuls of frozen like power greens generally. A lot of times I'll buy salad from Trader Joe's thinking that I'm going to eat salad. So spinach, arugula, mixed greens, power greens, and then the like 3 days that shelf life has go up and I haven't touched a salad. So I end up freezing it. A lot of times I just buy mixed greens from Costco to freeze anyway, but I do frozen mixed greens. I do berries. So you're getting mitonutrients that way. And then I do, it kind of just depends on the day what I have in my house. I've been doing flax seeds a lot recently because I'm trying to get those omega-3s up in my life. Sometimes if it is just a straight up meal replacement, I have to figure out how to get it up to like 700 calories. So I'll throw in nut butter, avocado, get creative that way. Frozen cauliflower rice is a big fan favorite out in the world. I have done smoothies before. Shout out to Aaron Holt where I've cooked sweet potatoes and put them in. So you can get really creative and you can get a lot of different nutrients in there. And then you just blend it up and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You've got a bunch of veggies. My smoothies end up being like I said, 2 to 4 or more servings of veggies and a solid serving of fruit. So again, doesn't look pretty. Oh, and then protein powder. Duh. So you've got the protein. And for me, I use Orgain right now because I can get it at Target and it just tastes good. It's like the lesser of all evils. And that's the big thing is that I want it to taste good. So the vanilla Orgain makes it taste a little bit like cake batter. Again, is it exactly like cake batter? No, but it does taste good. So give it a try. I promise you're going to be shocked. And even on the days that I've made a really nasty smoothie, I just chug it, right? And like a minute later, the smoothie's gone, but I've ingested 4 servings of vegetables. So it worth it. You can also toss greens powders in if you want to get real crazy. Point is, it's a great way to action pack and just get something for breakfast, especially because I find that a lot of people, breakfast is the hardest one to sort of wrap our minds around. And that for me is just a really easy thing to do. I don't eat breakfast at home because I work so early. So having that at work is super clutch. The next way, probably talked about this a lot too, and it's because it has been changing the game for me, and that is crock pots. Now, life got lifey, so I haven't been doing as many crock pots as I used to. But when I do crock pots, boy, oh boy, I'll do a crock pot recipe from online. I'll usually double or triple the protein, and then I'll add veggies that aren't in the recipe. So things like zucchini, broccoli, carrots, cauliflower rice, all those things cook down really nicely. Celery. So I have a bunch of veggies, but they just cook into the stew or chili or curry, whatever I'm making, and they're easy to eat. You can wilt kale. We do a sausage and kale soup that's real good. And again, just like the smoothie, greens wilt way down. So you are able to pack a big old punch. So again, I usually pick a recipe and then add my own veggies. Those ones that I listed are good ones because they don't really mess with the flavor at all. So zucchini, especially, carrots, celery, I don't do too much, but sometimes broccoli I do a lot. Cauliflower I'll do sometimes. And asparagus, that's another good one too. They just sort of cook down without changing the profile of the soup or whatever the case may be. I've also done that when I've made chicken for pulled chicken, where I'll put veggies on the bottom of the crock pot and it'll cook in the chicken juices and it's just real good. I also like to batch bake my veggies, and I haven't done that in a while either. This one does take a little more time, but you can do a lot of them. So you can have them prepped for several meals. So we'll do things like broccolini, asparagus, sweet potatoes. If you can handle onions, you can throw onions on there. If you can handle garlic, I can't right now. Garlic is my favorite food. Okay, so this is a hard topic. Let's just move on. But you can throw cloves of garlic on there. I mean, again, carrots, really anything that you like, you can whatever. You can throw it on there. I throw it in my big pan. I spray it down with avocado spray, put a little salt and pepper on it at the end. I bake it for about 45 minutes, about 25 minutes in, I flip the veggies. Man, it is awesome. It's great because that way when meals come, all we have to worry about is the protein. And if we've done our job right, we've prepped that too. We've made shredded chicken in the crock pot or 4 pounds of ground beef and rice. And then you just sort of take all of these things you've pre-cooked, you pop them on your plate. It's great if you work outside of your house because you have veggies pre-made, so you can literally just throw them in your lunchbox. That is another way that, like I said, this month we haven't been doing a lot of it, but in the past we do a lot of veggie prep. And one step further with that is shell out the extra buck or whatever and get your veggies pre-cut. Okay? I would love to think that I've got it together enough to chop broccoli and a head of cauliflower. But if that big old ball of cauliflower is sitting in my fridge, most of the time it is going to sit there till it turns into a wilted ball of cauliflower because sometimes pulling that thing apart just is too extra. So for me, buying things pre-chopped, yes, it's a little more expensive, but the likelihood of me eating them is much higher. So know yourself. Make things easy on yourself. Why not? Life is lifey enough. Take one step out. I promise you it's worth the $1. Other ways that we like to eat the veggies here are sauteing them. This is another really good trick when it comes to getting a lot, especially when it comes to greens, getting a lot of greens in what doesn't feel like a lot of greens way. So if you saute 3-4 handfuls of spinach, kale, arugula, power greens, whatever, that stuff gets real small, right? So you can saute it and mix it in with your protein dish. You can saute veggies and mix them into a stir fry. You can saute veggies and mix them into your scrambles. I do that a lot where I wilt down greens or saute veggies and then scramble them up. And it's another way that, again, for breakfast, you can really get a punch with your vegetables. Yeah, that's another big one. I also like it because I think it breaks us out of the idea that veggies have to taste like poop, because they don't. I see way too many people in January start Whole30. And listen, there's nothing wrong with Whole30, okay? But they start Whole30. Maybe they even started pretty well intentioned and like are making fun recipes and are getting really into it. And then like a week and a half in, they're not used to cooking. And suddenly they're like, these recipes have 85,000 ingredients or take 45 minutes and I'm tired. And so now I'm just going to eat fistfuls of romaine and raw broccoli and wish I were punching myself in the face instead. And then they come out of that month or like 2 weeks, they're like done. And they're like, you know what? Eating veggies is gross. It's gross. It's too hard. It's nasty. It's not worth it. And that really bums me out. It's like when somebody goes to a fitness class and their coach, instead of being like, hey, where are you in your fitness journey? And then being like, it's my first time ever. And the coach being like, amazing. Congratulations for being here. Listen to your body. Let me know how we can adjust. Pull back because my goal for you is to work on your form and move your body forever. But instead they get a coach who's like, great, give me 72 burpees and then run into a wall with your skull. And you know what happens? That person leaves the fitness world thinking everything about fitness is hard. Also, I've never been to that coach, but if someone told me to run my head into a wall, if they really looked like they wanted me to, I might do it. Sometimes I feel like I have something to prove. Point is, it puts the wrong literal taste in people's mouths. And the thing is that veggies don't have to suck. In fact, they can be really good. Throw some butter on that thing, right? Saute it in a healthy fat. Coconut oil, avocado oil, ghee, get luxurious. Throw some rice vinegar on there. Spices are a bonus, right? A, they make it taste delicious. B, what are spices? But dried plants. So they themselves may or contain micronutrients. So you're getting bonus nutrients when you spice your food. Erin Holt, who you know I love, Functional Nutrition Podcast, listen to her for science. She, many years ago, said on a podcast that in order to have a healthy gut, which is another reason we need to eat a variety of vegetables, right? Our body needs variety in order to feed our microbiome. She said our goal should be to hit 40 different types of plants in a week. And I was like, what? I can't even name 40 vegetables. And it turns out that's okay because not all plants are vegetables. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So spices count, teas count, obviously fruits count. So if you're using spices where it's a blend of oregano, basil, sage, thyme, that's 4 different plants right there. And you're that much closer to a healthy microbiome and your stuff tastes good. I'm a big fan of buying blended spices. Trader Joe's, you are my guy. I love your pizza spice. I love your everything but the bagel spice. You got a new mommy spice that comes into play once in a while. You got a chili lime. You got a 21 Salute. They've got a lot of spices. So just get creative. And remember, spices are great because they make your veggies taste better. And that's right, you're getting more plants for your microbiome. Wow. That was really exciting. Okay, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that I like to do with my vegetables? Those are kind of the big ways we get them. I also do just like veggies at this point. I think it's important to remember that processed foods, which are the majority of foods that we as Americans eat, are highly palatable, meaning that the flavors that are in them are enhanced in a lab to drive up our craving for the foods. So it can sometimes take a little while for whole real foods to taste good. I mean, that's just kind of the crappy part about it, is that the food industry has truly made in labs food that make us crave more of that food. And it can literally change the chemistry of our brain's response to these foods. It changes our taste buds. So I kind of think about it. Maybe it's just because I got puppy on the brain. But when you have a dog, and if you do, you lucky son of a gun, and you're transitioning them off of their food onto a new food, you have to do a couple meals where you're blending the food and slowly you take less and less, or you take more and more of their original food out and it becomes more and more of their new food. That's kind of a good way, I think, to do it, right? You're weaning yourself off so you don't just go from hyper palatable all the time and now trying to just shove vegetables in your mouth. I am at a point in my life where I enjoy the taste of vegetables, and that is Not always been the case. I've probably told this story here and I tell it all the time in the gym, but when I was in my 20s, even when I had started doing fitness, I was that person who literally ate fast food at every single meal. I never cooked. Every meal I got was a fast food. So I would literally open the door to my passenger seat and fast food bags would fall out. Like that was it. Every single day, every single meal. Jack in the Box, McDonald's, Burger King. If I was feeling real bad and bougie, I'd go for some Taco Bell. That stuff was expensive even 20 years ago. So anyway, point is that I completely understand that it is, here it is, progress, not perfection, when we are working on making changes to our nutrition. And if for you, you want to go cold turkey, go for it. I just want you to be mindful, right? Because I don't want you to be like so many people where it gets hard and you decide that veggies aren't worth it or they're disgusting. It did take me time. That's why I like kind of the wean off method. So that would kind of be, I guess, the last thing I'd say is that I use snacking veggies at work. I like crunchy things. I love crunchy things. So having crunchy veggies is a good snack for me. And it isn't like unsatisfying. It is also a pretty good way for me to gauge if I'm actually hungry or if I'm just snacking because I want to snack. So things like cucumbers, sugar snap peas, carrots, those are kind of my go-tos. Oh, we've been doing baby bell peppers, those little ones, multicolor ones that come in a bag from Trader Joe's. Those are kind of my main go-tos. I like to salt my cucumbers, get real sassy. Sometimes you can throw a little sauce on them. I hate saying this, but especially if you are looking for body comp or stabilizing your blood sugar or weight loss, do just be mindful about how much of the sauce you're using. Marcus, that guy that I'm marrying, he and I are really, really into bitchin' sauce. Boy, is that a treat. And we were eating like a carton a day until we realized that it's made out of almonds. So like a tablespoon is 90 calories. And again, I'm not the person who's going to count calories, but it is just something worth being mindful of if that is something that you're working on and it's part of a meal plan, is that sauces can add up really, really, real quick. But there's lots of ways that you can make, aiolis and such that fit into your meal plan. So big fan of snacking veggies. And I guess that is where I'm going to leave it, ? I mean, I feel like that's quite a few. Oh, last pro tip. Just like getting pre-chopped veggies. Another real clutch way to get veggies is to buy frozen veggies. We do that big old bag of frozen stir-fry veggies from Costco. A, they're frozen, so, they're not going to go bad. B, and this is crazy. Did you know that frozen veggies are fresher than fresh veggies in the produce? Did you hear that mic drop? Maybe you did know that. Maybe you didn't. Obviously, if you're going to a farmer's market, there's something could be a little bit different. But if you think about it, frozen veggies, when they are harvested and then frozen, the time between those A and B, relatively short, right? They're harvested, whatever happens in the process happens. They're flash frozen and they travel to our grocery store versus fresh produce, quote unquote. They're harvested, they're packaged, they're traveled across America, across the countries in North America. Maybe they're flown in from overseas, but they go through this huge travel period. They're refrigerated. So days to months to sometimes years. There's some crazy stats on the amount of time that an apple stays in refrigeration before it comes to store. I'm not going to quote it because I don't have it in front of me, but I remember reading it I think it was in the Omnivore's Dilemma, and it was mind-boggling. It was like 14 months or something. But the point is, the more space between harvest and consumption, the less nutritional value that vegetable has. So frozen veggies, it's where it's at. I'm just saying, give it a try. I'm a big fan. Okay, I guess that's it. I know I'm going to hang this mic up and be like, I forgot the most important one. And you know what? That's all there is to it. Even when I go without a script, I talk for 832 years. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that in this vomit of words, you found something that helps you today. And again, the big takeaway, as always, is don't let good enough get in the way of perfect. Start with the self-audit. How many veggies did I eat today? If the answer was none, that okay. Now we know. The first step in anything is awareness. It doesn't have to be in a total overhaul overnight. I'm a big fan of just trying to get veggies 1 meal a day. Once you're feeling good with that, 2 meals a day. Once you're feeling good with that, every meal, right? So slow, steady, consistent. Just like fitness, our health is a lifelong journey. Enjoy it. Don't punish yourself. Have fun with it. Get creative. If you have recipes that you love, especially veggie recipes, shoot them my way. kinsey.diamond@gmail.com. A, because I want them. B, so I can share them. All right, team. This has been a long time. So as always, it means the world to me when you like, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It is just a little old baby right now, and the way that it gets spread is through y'all. So we'll be back with more specifically women's health and fitness tips later, but this one, anyone who you know who might just need a little veg love in their life, #VegLove, copyright 2025, send them this little guy. And in the meantime, go have a beautiful rest of your day, afternoon, evening. You and your bodies are so stinking worth it. Aroo!